I hope you woke up well. I'm Robin. This is Any Place. I am here on Chumash land by the river. And today we're going to do some Cortices balancing. So let's just start by dropping into where we are, wherever it is. If it's inside, outside, if it's in between. So standing about hip distance apart, wherever's comfortable. And a soft bend in the knees. So I've been encouraging people to give a little bend into the knees so that we're not locking out in the joints, so that we're teaching all of the small muscles, tendons, ligaments to support the joint. And to find that space in between. And there's more ability to move from this softness. So if we're locked out, there's not as much space to move into another position. So there's a kind of readiness in soft knees. And we can think about the center of the heels dropping down into the earth. Maybe a root, a giant taproot coming from the very center of the ball of the foot. Right here. And that giant root is going to be our connection deep down into the earth, supporting us, our body, in space, in gravity. And then bringing the attention to the back of the skull. So we take in sensory information through the back of the brain and we motor out through the front, out through the frontal lobes. We spend a lot of time in our day-to-day motoring out through the front, concentrating, focusing, taking in information through a process, an analytical process. So we're going to focus a little bit more on bringing in the sensory information. And that's where the Cortices balancing comes in. So you can let your eyes fall open and just bring a little movement into the hips, circling the hips, maybe placing the hands down at the base of the sacrum. And just noticing what happens through the spine, letting these circles transfer all the way up the spine, through the neck and the head. Also bringing the attention to the breath. We're here mid-May. It was just a very hot weekend and it's cool again this morning. So as we take in information through the back of the brain, kind of allows for resiliency. It allows for the information to be new. We're not holding it up against already understood information, not checking it against our reference points. It's new information. More and more, we need to cultivate that kind of resiliency, that adaptability. And then changing circles with the hips. Noticing the breath, not doing anything but noticing it, not altering it in any way, allowing it to be free, allowing it to do what it does. The breathing mechanism is involuntary, so it's going to happen, whether we think about it or not. But bringing that awareness to it just changes our relationship with our physiology. And our breath can become the channel for which we perceive what's happening in the body. So maybe sending that breath or tracing the breath all the way down the front of the spine into the pelvis. Noticing what's happening to the pelvis. There's this kind of weight shift through the pubic symphysis here, which is there's two joints here, shifting from one leg to the other leg. There's a lot of movement here at the pubic symphysis. More movement than we might expect. And then letting that go. So we'll do the Cortices balancing technique, which this is a body talk technique. John Feldheim, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his last name right, who gathered a lot of information from many different sources, healing sources, modalities. So acknowledging all of those many ancestral practices, acknowledging these healing modalities that have been around for centuries, ancient. So we'll begin by placing the hand at the base of the skull, right here at the occiput where it meets the atlas. And we're just going to start by tapping the top of the head, making sure that this hand is getting both sides, both hemispheres of the brain. So kind of a flat palm, getting right and left hemispheres of the brain. You can do this sitting down, you can do this lying down. And then tapping the heart. Ideally getting 2 breath cycles in each place. We might do a little bit of an abbreviated version today. And then tapping the belly. And then placing the hand, one hand placement up. Again, the head. So this is great if you're, for many reasons, if you're experiencing any kind of disorganization or dysregulation. This helps to organize brain-body connection. If you're having difficulty concentrating, focusing, there's some brain fog. If you're having difficulty sleeping, this is great to do first thing in the morning, right before bed. And you can do this with the eyes closed or the eyes open. If you have your eyes open, let yourself see wide. Placing the hand one more up. What does that mean, seeing wide? Letting yourself see through your periphery, which is really bringing that focus point, the drishti point, into the back of the skull. Just notice for a moment, you can play with focusing on something right in front of you, directing your attention outward. And then bringing the attention into the back of the skull. And just notice for yourself what that does. How your perception changes. How your body awareness changes. And the idea is that if there's any imbalance in the body, changing hand position, any kind of trauma, illness, it's going to be reflected in the brain at some point. And so we're disrupting any patterning. Sometimes there's patterning that bypasses information. And so we're disrupting that pattern to bring awareness to where healing needs to happen. One of my teachers, Frida Kiparbe, talks about healing is happening all the time. Really, whether we're conscious of it or unconscious of it. Our body, our earth body, our earth is in a constant state of finding balance. I'm getting bit by river bottom friends. And then placing the hand, one more right here, the frontal lobe, the frontal bones of the skull. You can also say some affirmations as you tap the head and the heart and the belly. Bringing some awareness into our consciousness. Allowing for what is necessary for the body to understand in this moment to be available. And bringing that awareness to the heart space. Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen talks about all the spirals, all the dancing of spirals come from the heart. So that's a whole other conversation, but developmentally how we take on our form, how we form as an embryo, how our body spirals outward from the heart. And then bringing that awareness into our deep place of knowing, this deep place of mystery, the first of the three treasures of the triple wormer, which is largely about the kidney system. And then placing the hands over the ears. And tapping the head. Tapping the heart. And tapping the belly. So, you just stand here, letting that integrate, feeling into your breath. The body takes in about 2 million bits of information per second, so into our nervous system. Not all of it is in our consciousness. Only 126 bits of information can we be aware of in our conscious mind. So how do we filter the information? What do we choose? And oftentimes we choose it through and not consciously, but it's brought in through our beliefs, our emotions, our experiences. So how do we take in information as if it's new information instead of bringing it through this filter? So I might be hearing something that someone says and assume that they mean this based off of my experiences, which can be largely, oftentimes I think we take in information and have a negative relationship to it. I know that that's something I've been really aware of is, okay, maybe that's not what this person meant. And so that's a whole process. So when we do this kind of tapping system, that just allows for a little bit more spaciousness around how we take in information or how we process information and bring it into our consciousness, allowing the information to be new, not making assumptions, being a little bit curious. So now we're just going to be curious about our surroundings and our space. I always like to do a nice spinal twist anyway. Finding the spiraling of the movement. And as we're finding the spiraling of the movement, letting your eyes finish the spiral by seeing all the way behind you. And it doesn't matter where you are, if you're at a river bottom or if you're in your living room. Taking in the information as it's new. Taking it in through the back of the head. Taking it in the form of shapes, colors, textures. Rather than identifying, okay, this is a live oak. There's some poison oak right there. Rather than identifying and naming what we see, just taking it in with wonder. Who are you? Maybe allowing the hands to land on the body with a little slapping, giving the bone marrow a massage. And then just letting that dissipate naturally. Allowing your body to arrive in this moment. Noticing if you feel different from when we first started. And let's just make some facial movements and expressions, which innervates the brain. Maybe make some sounds and noises, which it tones the vagal nerve. Maybe add a little bounce to it, a little sloshing through the body. No one's looking at you. I get to be the one looking ridiculous on camera, which I enjoy. Eyes open, face open, face closed. I think they do this as like a technique in singing warm-up, which is so great. Maybe some humming. And again, bringing the attention into the back of the brain, widening the gaze. And just noticing how you feel in this moment. Tuning into all of the movement that's happening inside and all around. Thank you for moving with me.